What is going on, everyone? My name's Boit, and I'm back with some more Age of Mythology retold action. This morning, in the left side of the map, in the blue color, playing as Ra. His name is TheRapl. His opponent today in the red color, playing as Kronos. His name is EricBR. Eric from Brazil. The map, ladies and gentlemen, the map is a fabulous Mount Olympus. What a time to be alive here. I have to just quickly fix up these settings because everyone plays like a maniac and we need to just turn everything down to a nice slow speed here. That's much better. So, Ra versus Kronos. We're in the Wrath of the Gods here. This is day one of the qualifiers. We're going to be going over some of the recorded games because you didn't get to catch all the games. Lots of sort of cool games happened over the weekend. A lot of games actually happened over the weekend, and we are in a little bit of a time crunch to get these done. As all you guys know, as soon as the next patch comes out in game, all these recorded games unfortunately do end up becoming invalid. So we have to get them watching from the get-go. So checking out these guys here. Eric with the Kronos. It looks to me like he's going for kind of stock standard 330 advanced time for early pressure. We've seen a lot of the early advances from Kronos against Egyptian players, but it looks like Eric wants to go for a slightly slower advance time and just have that economic advantage. So he's going to, well, the question really becomes, does he go through Leto or does he go through Prometheus here? Now, Mount Olympus, a very, very large map. Those fast advances with the early pressure can be somewhat unexpected. Now, obviously, these players are really, really strong, but like, you watch Kronos and you go, oh, he's going to rush me. Okay, so I've got to play around this in some way, shape, or form. And we do see that TheRapl at the moment, actually, you know, I thought he would have been already advancing. I would have been expecting a 345 classical age from him here, but Eric here is going to have a little bit of time to kind of play here in the early stages of the game. Now, you can see the Prometheans coming in a way. Does he spot that temple? No, but you can see them coming in the way and kind of drop houses down and just protect yourself here. Or drop a wall across here as well as another idea. As the villager's just going to jump over onto the gold mine. He's got a lot of gold incoming. Do we see any priests coming out? Not just yet. It's a stock standard tar here. The thing is, right, the question you're always asking from the Ra side of things is the Kronos player going for an economic approach, or is the Kronos player going for a rush? And then you have to react accordingly to it. And in this situation, he's going to be seeing that Prometheus come through here, and he's going to start being able to put some pressure on as the Prometheans, they're going to be wandering forward. There's still a little bit of time remaining here to start going into. So you are seeing those Valors coming through, deconstruction coming down. Priest and Pharaoh are in position to defend this. Those Prometheans do hit like a bit of a truck onto the villagers as TheRapl just safely pulls them back off of the gold, and he's going to come back over onto that gold mine. Meanwhile, to the other side here, honestly, no surprises whatsoever here from Eric. He's just going to be going for a fast second town center behind this. Like, these early advances into second town center have been something we've been seeing a lot over the past couple of weeks. Definitely a strategic favorite of, say, someone like Chemo. He's been doing this one quite a bit on the ladder. So we'll see how it's going to work here for Eric as the Promethean on the front here. Now going to start putting a little bit of pressure over onto this position. We've got that Oracle going to get set packing as well as the temple. Now, under a little bit of pressure, and the town center going to come up. Now, if TheRapl is thinking here, and he obviously is, he can now go for a really, really nice Shifting Sands play. We see the temple coming, the mana coming in, the temple could come in to block these villagers through, such that they're going to be in a nice position with the double hero citizens here. It could be a bit of a problem for him. The weakness of this is that if you bring villagers as well, then you can simply just shank down this position. Now, I haven't seen Eric. He's not pulling that temple back, but he definitely could just block himself in a little bit here as the army comes through. 14 seconds remaining. It's just going to be a handful of units here as the villagers just popping back out. And they're going to be able to get some shanks down. TheRapl here is getting caught out in a big wave. He's been incredibly greedy with this shifting sands. Would have 100% expected him to bring some villagers or something forward here to deny this one, but not going for it. And honestly, Eric, completely fine now. I'm not sure what TheRapl was thinking. Now, TheRapl is seriously far behind in this game. Good. And the Spearman going to be going down as well. Town Center, not only that, the Town Center goes up. Theft of Fire going to be coming through here as well for Eric, as he's just going to be spamming those Valors onto the citizens to not only give himself that 2 Town Center advantage, but also it's going to be giving him a economic advantage to boot behind all of this. As the villagers now come down for TheRapl to grab his own town center. Got the double Wadgets in, so it's going to be completely fine. It is a large map on Mount Olympus. However, as the villagers do spot that one there. However, gold mines on this spawn here are looking rather forward. Now, luckily, there's a lot of choke points that you can wall up and you can make it hard for your opponent to push in and get those gold staves happening. So it's going to be possible still here for TheRapl to try and bring this game back. But the amount of economic advantage that Kronos is going to have here is incredibly substantial. And we are going to be seeing Terma starting to come out for Eric. I wouldn't actually be surprised to see him go for a heroic age behind this. Just a handful of Terma into a heroic age makes a lot of sense. After your opponent goes for a shifting sands in that spot, you know they're going to be a little bit scared of stuff, and those early Terma can basically just poke around. He's got the oracles in place here as well. Checking out the gold mines over here. Hasn't spotted a gold mine on this left side, which could go the wayside of TheRapl at some point, as the Oracle does spot this. Villager's going to come over here, and with those Terma in, they're going to start being a little bit of a problem onto this gold mine, because obviously here, the easy defense to these handful of Terma into heroic age is you just throw a wall down onto this side, and then you get onto this gold mine, and those Terma can't really do a whole lot. A couple of Wadgets in place here, as the Terma, not going to quite go down, but almost does. Can get that Valid back up to full HP if he so chooses, but it looks like Eric's just going to retreat back, and that heroic age is going to come through very, very quickly. Lots of villagers on wood at the moment, however, as it might not be as quick as he might expect. For those of you joining right now, the map is Mount Olympus. This is a map available for everyone to play. It's a map that came with Age of Mythology Retold, just not in the ranked pool. I think this is an incredibly well-designed map. There's a lot of fun defensive ideas here. So if you're not a huge fan of like super aggressive gameplay and you want to play a more defensive game, then this is definitely a map you can play in your own customs. And I encourage you to try it out in team games as well. It's really, really fun to play on. As the villager's going to get sent pack in here. Spearman coming out onto this spot as Eric has... I wouldn't say he's forced these out. I think TheRapl is maybe overreacting to these Terma at the moment. No walls at this point will be a nice kind of advantage for Eric's Terma. They can shoot and scoot for a very, very long time here. In fact, that's exactly what they're going to do. The Terma do have those Wadgets to deal with, so whenever the Wadgets get in and hit one, they're going to actually take them out. So they are a nice counter to the shoot and scoot micro, but it's difficult to do, and once the Kontarias come in, life gets very, very difficult. As the Spearman going to slowly start to push forward here. Villager's going to be grabbing that deer in the center. We've got the Hyperion coming through, as well as those spears just charging forward. Temple's just doing some shifting sands shenanigans. Time shifting shenanigans, actually. We already saw one shifting sands. Time shifting shenanigans. Not sure where he's going with it. But obviously here, Eric probably knows that this is the position where for TheRapl to go for a gold mine. As villagers moving into the center of the map, dropping a mana, grabbing gold. This is a big advantage for Atlantean players to kind of have a look into going for. Instead of having to drop a full palace onto something, you can just go around and drop manas and put 2 villagers on every single gold mine around. So any small raids don't really do anything. Your opponent has to go for really big raids. As the wall's going to come down, and now the gold mine is going to be able to be grabbed by TheRapl. And after all is said and done, the Terma, they don't get a whole lot of value here, but they do kind of keep TheRapl in the classical age, which is going to mean big advantages coming very shortly for a kind of mid-game timing push onto a gold mine or something like that. As we see an immediate palace coming through here for Eric. Ideas of getting out a couple of destroyers here. Probably not the best of ideas at this stage of the game, but maybe just going straight to the Mythic Age is the idea. Obviously, protecting the gold mine is first and foremost the nature of what this palace is doing. But, you know, if your opponent is going to sit back and just defend, you can very easily just go, all right, time to go Mythic Age, get implode, kill off the big army that your opponent's massing, and then call it a day. So Wadget's now just simply going to be pulling back. We've got that shaft mine, heavy cavalry, a couple more cavalry, and finally Oracle's starting to come through as well. Very important as we see the chaos coming through onto this spot. The shifting sands comes through now for TheRapl, and he's just going to pull back. No problems there. Doesn't lose a whole lot, but there aren't priests in. This is the problem. He's got to get that HP back up, and he needs to deal with those satyrs somehow. Wadgets are a decent anti-myth unit type unit because they do a crazy amount of damage, DPS, and they got 2x against myth units. But, you know, after all is said and done, priests are the king of killing off myth units for the Egyptians, obviously the pharaoh as well, but heroes are the best type of unit to kill off those myth units. If we can get a couple of those in, healers units back up, it's going to be in a decent spot here. But Eric is just going to be pumping Contarius out. I've got some farms coming down as well for Eric. The farms, they don't get affected by the Ra rain anymore. So the farms don't get boosted. So you're not getting any bonus resources here. Nonetheless, Contarius are going to break through this wooden wall as the spearmen, they realize it's probably time. No, they might actually be thinking about taking a fight here as Eric's got those satyr in the back. They're going to be getting huge damage done as the Termi here as well. They're not going to be that useful. And now Eric does decide time to retreat back, and he says, all right, time to produce a bunch of those Arcus moving forward here. And so wall immediately going to be coming back up. Population differential is still sitting very, very close. One thing that I think that our Kronos player here, Eric, is kind of missing just ever so slightly is a couple more of those myth units here. I think he didn't have those oracles out fast enough, which means the favor income could be a little bit higher. And if he had like 4 satyrs at this point, he's probably able to take out those spearmen incredibly quickly. And now TheRapl can take a fairly big advantage moving forward here with his army. He's got the Wadget force at the front. He's got to be careful though with that movement forward. We see the satyr now got the bonus spears coming through, and he's going to get the satyr numbers out eventually here. And that's where things get very, very scary for TheRapl. TheRapl, he's already got himself out a healthy amount of priests. Got the slingers coming through as well as... This is something I've been seeing a lot out of TheRapl. Like, he loves to go for just pure barracks units here. Not going to be going into any Migdols just yet. He could go... Obviously, he's got the segment to come through, but he could go into Camel Riders here, and that could be a great sort of counter to this army, but he wants to have that diversified economy, diversified army nonetheless. The slingers will be able to deal with those Arcus a little bit, as it looks like Eric is now going to be taking the fight to TheRapl for the time being. Good pullback micro there on the satyrs, but the Wadgets are the unit here to be worrying about. There's still 2 left as the spearmen do manage to clean up a lot of those, or all of those Terma actually, and now Eric has to retreat back for another time here. But every single fight that's happening right now is somewhat of a bonus here for Eric. He wants to go up here through Atlas. He's just going to keep pumping units out. So as soon as he can afford it, he'll advance. But affording it is going to take a very, very long time here. Villages for TheRapl getting walls up all onto the other side. And this is the game plan for Ra most of the time against Atlantean. It's just sit back, relax, take good fights, try not to lose the game. If he doesn't lose the game, he can get to a really good spot here and find a win. The problem is that Eric, if he can get to Mythic Age, which it looks like he will be able to get to, now there's going to be implode. And that's a very, very challenging thing to be dealing with. As the army... Oh, look at that. This is what I'm talking about. This is still only 2 satyr in this army. See how many spearmen just fall from that splash damage. As TheRapl, he almost has to push forward right now. He has to get something done. As he hits the heroic age, we'll be able to drop that Sekhmet Citadel straight away. It's now Eric going for a 3rd town center. There's the Citadel coming down into the main base. And the question is really, can TheRapl hold implode at this point? Eric's economy is so insanely far in front. And this all just stems back to that early game where TheRapl was going for a one town center denial of the town center and just could not quite make it there in time. We see Slings of the Sun coming through, a couple of armory upgrades. So all of these units here from TheRapl, they're going to be falling very, very quick. Now, if you wanted, the only real way that I've figured out to defend against Implode is either have a lot of really high quality units out, like elephants, which aren't going to die to the Implode, or a great denial of the town center there from TheRapl, or you get out enough military infrastructure and you just have the resources in the bank. So you know, going to the Mythic Age here against Atlas, you stick it out in the Heroic Age, and then you can just rebuild that army as fast as possible. As TheRapl now, he sees himself a bit of an advantage here, and if you get that Implode force on this position, it can be a nice way to kind of bide time to pull back into the game, as Eric now has to defend his gold mine. He has to garrison all those citizens. The Arcus Ball, which Eric has built, not going to be the best against these slingers for the time being, as the citizens are going to yet again try and grab that town center on the front here. As TheRapl retreats back, he needs to push forward onto this spot here if he can. Will we see an immediate implode or not? As the slingers have the high ground for the moment here, as the Wadge is going to get some damage done. Arcus going to be pulling back here. Arcus is going to pull on back underneath this palace for the time being. So Wadge is going to try and get some damage done. Slingers in to say g'day. Still no implode through for Eric, as TheRapl just, I think he knows. Well, he might be going to the next stage. If he can get a decent tornado win, that's a decent counter to the implode, but still no usage of that. We're starting to see raids coming up onto this position. Looks like Eric has made a little bit of a misstep here for the first time in this game. As the slingers are getting pushed back. He seems okay, but a little bit of a raid on this position does hurt quite a bit. Slingers pulling back, going to be able to snipe that one before having to turn around and take a little bit more fighting. But the third town center up now for Eric. The road to a victory here for TheRapl is going to be very, very steep. See if he can make it happen. Migdol Stronghold coming up onto this side. And now Eric's going to be able to get what he wants, which is an offensive implode. These are the hardest things to defend against. That being said, lots and lots of resources in the bank here for TheRapl. I would like to see more barracks in this situation. He's got himself the levy upgrade. More barracks means what? As we see a raid down to the bottom side of the map, pushing off this gold mine. But more barracks just means that you can queue up one round of units, and in a very short amount of time, you can have a defense here. But deconstruction coming in. Eric's still holding on to that implode as the unit's retreating back. Villager's going to sneak over onto this gold mine. Did Eric in the end spot that? Answer is no. He did not spot the side gold mine there. Sneaky gold mines for the longest time in Age mythology have been the way for the defender, the booming god, to find victories. We've seen Hades do it for a very long time in the history of Age mythology. Ra as well. And this is the Ra here for TheRapl. This is going to get a lot of time on this gold mine, I would have to expect. Now, if we take a look at Eric's perspective, he does see gold mines all the way over to this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. On the other side, he sees only 1, 2. So, I mean, he's got to be expecting something to be somewhere over here if he's counting gold mines. But in the heat of the moment, that can be very, very challenging, as we see a lot of Wadgets now coming through for TheRapl. He's got 2 temples out to pump these ones through. Villagers all coming up to the top side. Wall's going to be coming up over onto this location here. We still have to remember that implode is on the table, but tornado versus implode, you know what I was saying, if a good tornado comes down, that can equalize. Though fourth town center coming through here now for Eric, he's going to have a big population advantage. Does he have fortified town centers as well? He does have the fortified town centers, so Eric has got military advantage, population advantage, economic advantage by a small margin here. But if TheRapl can get himself fortified town centers and a second citadel down, that might be enough for him to get a quality enough army to hold here, as we do see the Contarius spots the hidden gold mine after all has been said and done. This has not been hidden enough. The wall's not quite up here. Villagers turning around to shank down. TheRapl doesn't have that Skin of the Rhino technology just yet, as the champion Contarius will end up getting taken down, but more Contarius coming in as we see the Tornado coming onto this position. Units charging forward to take out the Wadgets here. The army of RapL coming through here, but RapL's villagers not getting pulled back here. He's going to be losing every single one of them for the time being here. As onto the bottom position, the town center will end up going down as well. And in that moment, RapL taps out and Eric draws first blood in this best of 5 series here. Solid game here from Eric, but you know, RapL, he's going to have to be thinking about this going forward. 2 town centers from Kronos. Can you deny it or not? What do you have to send to deny it is the big question. I think the simple solution is Priest Villager. Because if you can just get enough priests out, or Wadgets as well, like build an extra Wadget. He didn't have the temple down is the problem, I think. It's because that deconstruction comes in and he couldn't get that in. So he's got to bring a handful of villagers. Maybe the answer here is to get Skin of the Rhino in, bring those villagers in. You can deny the town center. You can build it up on that position for yourself. And then you can play a really, really weird game. Alternatively, the villagers can just kind of pull back onto berries and you can build a forward barracks and you can start playing a classical fight with Wadgets and barracks units while the Kronos is on one town center. But whatever is the case here, it doesn't work for RapL. We'll move on to game number 2 real shortly. Hope you guys are enjoying the Wrath of the Gods tournament. It's a really fun one for me, but we'll see you in the next game. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, game number 2 in this best of 5 series for the Wrath of the Gods. Qualifier number 1 in the top of the map, playing in the blue color as Poseidon. His name is TheRapl. His opponent today in the red color, playing as Set. His name is Fox's EricBR. Oh, what happened? Oh no. The all disappointing shift click strikes again. So for those of you guys who don't know, in Age of Mythology, as we're moving into this game very, very quickly, a little bit of a lesson here for all players playing at home. In Age of Mythology, in Age of Mythology Retold, the drop sites, you can drop any resource into any drop site that the village is holding, so long as it completes building it. If you shift click it, for whatever reason, it doesn't want to drop it off. So luckily Eric catches that, because if you're holding 7 wood and then you start mining the gold, he would have lost that one. So instead of losing that, he just had to walk back to the town center and then back over onto the gold mine. So not a huge loss in the early game, but definitely not something he was really wanting to have happen, especially when playing against Poseidon. Let me tell you a little bit about Poseidon here in this matchup. What Poseidon players like to do is they like to advance fast, they like to hit you hard, and they like to not allow you to do what you want to do. So the question is, how do you play against this as the Set? Obviously, before we go into that, there are other strategies that Poseidon can go for. He doesn't have to go for a 315 Hermes attack. He doesn't have to go for a 330 Hermes attack. He can go for a 4-minute advance time. He can go for a 5-second town center. He can go for a Ares type attack as well if he really wants to. There's lots and lots of different play for Poseidon. Now, obviously, players at this level, they've tried a lot of this stuff. They decide which sort of strategies they think give them the best chance to win a game, but we'll see how the game's going to go. It's going to be a fast advance. Well, it's actually not that quick here for RapL. It's kind of looking like closer to a 3:45 than a 4-minute. So pretty quick. But Eric actually going for a fairly late advance here. I think this might have been something to do with the wood problem there. You definitely want, I would say, my biased set take on this, just based on the games that I've had, is you definitely want to be getting a 4-minute advance time if you can at this level of play. Just because if the Poseidon player decides to be aggressive, you're in a world of hurt. If the Poseidon player doesn't choose to be aggressive, you can just grab a town center and you're completely fine. So there's options to go for. Nonetheless, we'll see what Eric's going to actually pull off after all said and done. Looks like he's going for a kind of stock standard one town center play. RapL on the other hand here, he's going to be waiting out in his main base here for his Atalanta. No, he's not going to go for that. He doesn't quite have the resources, but he's going to be moving across the map, ready to put some pressure onto Eric, and it looks like RapL just a little bit too late to get to the party here. As where's the priest at? The priest moving forward. Generally, you want to pull this one back to deal with the center, but it looks like he's going to be going for a sneaky side kind of Rhino steal here. I like that idea there from Eric. Though it seems like whenever I go for it, someone always finds my priest in the corner. We'll see if RapL is going to be aware of that. As the center, ever so slightly, going to be moving forward. Wadget is already in. Double Wadget is already in, and the center has to leave here. It takes so much damage there from that Wadget. It's such a strong unit, but he does get the scouting information he needs. He sees the double barracks coming through. So what is the answer here? An archery range. This isn't Hades, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't Hades at all. This is Poseidon, and no first answer with simply just going for Hippias. He's going for Toxotes, and Eric, he hasn't scouted this just yet. Now he does. Now he sees it. Archery range is down, and at this point, RapL can kind of do whatever he wants. Eric sees it and he goes, "All right, time to build a couple of slingers out. Need to be able to deal with that." But you know, after this spy is done, RapL can actually stop building Toxotes altogether and actually go straight into Mass Hippias. And the Spearman kind of slinger comp only is good if there's a ton of Toxotes out. Is that what we're going to see here? No. It's an armory. It's an armory. RapL has completely played Eric in this game for the early stages of the game. If RapL can get to the heroic age here, what does this mean? It basically means this classical army is going to get cursed, and it's not going to be able to get all too much value in. We see a great gold mine on this side with fantastic building placement here from RapL to just defend against any sort of Wadget ideas. This is quite locked off. I think the units can squeeze through there, so it's got to be a little bit careful. The Wadget might even be able to get in onto that as well. The watchtowers come through as the Spearman coming onto this town center, just check things out. Doesn't see the armory here. He doesn't have any inkling that that's going to be coming through in this game just yet. As Eric's still searching around for things to do. Meanwhile, the center gets a villager kill there with the Atalanta. Nice pressure. Yet again, Eric not getting that gold mine kind of secured with houses and things like that is hurting him in a big way. Another weakness on this position here is the center Atalanta going to be getting some value, taking these villagers out here. The Centaur, unfortunately, Atalanta and the Centaur picking the wrong thing up, but they get a bit of a body block here, and that's going to be not one, but two villager kills. The rest of the villagers are going to come out. We see the Pharaoh attempting to heal that one back up, and before that, though, will this be another villager kill? It's going to be close. It's not going to come through. Atalanta for two villager kills. That's a trade RapL is going to take any day of the week here. A couple more units coming in. Now we see Military Academy. I love this idea. Atalanta coming back out. We see Aphrodite coming through. There's going to be access to Hypaspis to deal with those spearmen that are out. And the Peltas going to come through. And this just means that Eric is going to be having a really, really tough time. Peltas beat Slingers. Hypaspis beat Spearmen. And then you also get that third age hero as well to deal with the Wadgets that come through. We'll see what Eric can actually manage to do. If he's got any inkling here, he would be going for like a second town center or going for the next age. But I still don't think he has kind of sniffed out what RapL's going for in this game just yet. The center yet again coming in, getting value here, pushing villagers off of that gold mine. This guy has gotten so many hits off. This elephant has been brought back. The Rhino on this side do end up getting taken down as the units are going to charge forward. There are a couple of priests on this spot to get a Huge amount of damage done, but the pigs here, I think that RapL wanted, they're not going to come forward for him just yet, and those pigs are all going to get brought back home. A couple more houses going to come down on this spot here for the RapL. And like we said, Hapaspist, Peltast for the time being. And Eric is going to be seeing this and going, oh, I need to get a different unit comp. So what do you build against this? Huge damage with that Nemean line. It allows so much value. See those slingers immediately jumping onto the Toxotes here. Excuse me, I got the sneezes. There's a couple more Peltas. They're just so good. The range on them at this stage is insane. 18 versus 16, and Eric doesn't even play it out. He just taps out here. He's down 2 villagers. He just taps out. He's got nowhere to go. He's got 800 gold in the main base. He's got villagers on food here. He's still pumping out slingers. But RapL just in Eric's head, able to completely outright counter the strategy which Eric is going for in this game. I'm not sure if it's an outright counter or maybe Eric can still find a way to victory by retreating back and then getting into some sort of heroic age shenanigans here. But if we take a quick look at the post game and we see the statistics here, 7 units killed for Eric to 28 for RapL. Ignore my name. That's not what's supposed to be there. 28. That's absolutely insane. Insanely well played here from RapL, managing to equalize this series 1-1. And this is what Age Mythology tournaments are all about. This is the kind of big brain defensive efforts that happen in these sorts of games. Or defensive efforts and like countering strategies and all the other good stuff. Insanely well played here from TheRapl. If you guys enjoyed this one, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget the follow button. See you in the next game. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, game number 3 coming at you here for the Wrath of the Gods. $15,000 is actually on the line in this tournament here, total. This qualifier, however, $1,000 total prize pool. Spawning on the left side of the map in the blue color is going to be the Thor player this game. And it's going to be the RapL, his opponent today, in the red color. Opting in with Freyr on this map. I've seen this happening quite a bit. I'm a bit surprised on it, in all honesty. However, his name is Eric. The only reason I'm surprised on the Freyr pick here is that this map can be very, very challenging to play on. This is a very, very challenging map to play on. But we'll see how things are going to go. RapL's going to go for the early Dwarven Armory and see what he can make happen here. But it's Thor versus Freyr on Ghost Lake, as goats are slowly starting to come in for both players. It looks like to me RapL's just got 10 goats out, and I think this is a delayed armory. It must be, because it only takes 40 seconds to build. So a delayed armory here from RapL to get a couple of goats out in the early stages of the game here. Like, if you want to cause problems for a Thor player on this map, the idea here probably should be to send your initial berserk to just kind of move back and forth on this spot until you see the berserk return and grab that armory. And then you can scout out and grab all the rest of those goats there. Nonetheless, Orok going to get dragged in underneath the town center here. It's a little bit far away, but great micro from RapL to make sure none of his villagers taking any damage here. He's just run out of wood on that location, but that's not going to be the end of the world here. And he's going to get himself that copper mail technology here. On the right side here for Eric, let's just check out what he's got going. Does he have an upgrade? He's got pickaxe already. No hand axe coming in just yet. From what I learned from the greatest Frere player to have ever existed, Husk Soup, you grab hand axe. I think it's after the third dwarf. Soup's in the chat at the moment. Maybe you can remind me because I actually forgot and did it incorrectly in my last game with Frere. Nonetheless, very, very strong opening here for Eric. He's also choosing to go through Ulla. Now, obviously, he could go for Frere for Freya here with Frere, but that Ulla can be a nice little defensive thing for him to grab this gold mine nice and safe and play a really, really defensive game. On the left side of the map here for TheRapl, where to next is the big question. Relics on the map. Have these players spotted them just yet? Let's have a quick look. Looks like Rapl doesn't really know. And Eric's only found 2 relics. What has he got down the bottom here? Hermes Winged Sandals is such a big relic. I can't overstate how important speed is for these Herser. And the fact that he's going to be able to get that basically means he's got himself Hall of Thanes, which is kind of huge when he's not through 4 SETI. So he's going to be able to deal with Valkyrie really easily, or he's going to be able to deal Battle Boards, or Frost Giants, or Fire Giants even throughout this game. It also really helps out the Goaty in the battle as well, if you're going to be building those. It's an immediate great haul coming down here for Eric, as he's going to be wanting to make some cavalry units there. We'll see if that's going to work. The big bonus of obviously going through Ulla is that you get access to that, I think it's called Servants of Glory technology, which boosts all of your infantry speed. So oftentimes we see a lot of Frere players going for a huge amount of infantry units and almost just ignoring cavalry for a large portion of the early game. But it's looking like Eric is going to be grabbing himself 2 great hauls, which either means he's going to go very heavy into heroes for some reason, unlikely, or he's going to go in very heavily into cavalry moving forward. On the top of the map, people that both players haven't seen this just yet. We've got that Arrows of Heracles here. 5% bonus onto range units is really big. And Archimedes Ledger here going to be making that population go down by 1. And we'll see how things are going to go. As the Valkyrie swinging around onto the top side. And Eric just positioning those Herser in a nice little spot here to defend the wood line from that. Not going to get any value just yet. But in doing this, you also leave your gold mine open and your other food on the front here. But Herser coming around onto this side to defend that as well. If we take a quick look at Eric's perspective, he'll see the Valkyrie coming through. And he's going to be able to react to that one immediately. Rapl as well gets out of there. And he sees the entirety of that base. Sees that there's not going to be any sort of infantry units coming through just yet, and that allows Rapl to just very happily go very heavily in onto raiding cavalry to kick this game off. And with the fact that he's already got himself copper weapons and copper mail, his raiding cavalry will absolutely hit here. Good micro here from Eric there. Rapl trying to cause a little bit of problems with the old pathing or whatever, or the unit choice there, but Eric catches that one out, gets a little bit of damage done, and he's going to be able to retreat back. No problems. So you do see a little cheeky house on the bottom there. Did end up getting taken out. As how do these catch up? Is this thing slow? I can never understand. I never understand how stuff works. Valkyrie turns around, and now the numbers are in the advantage of the Rapl for a little bit, but heavy or medium cavalry, I should say, coming through there. Nice and cheap for Frere. And an armory now going to be on the way as food is starting to dry up, but he is on this back food nicely. If we take a quick look at Rapl's perspective, he sees this. He sees that there's food on the back and there could be potentially some villages there. When we take a look at Eric's perspective here, he is very open to this raid. So if Rapl can figure this out, that there is potentially villages on there. Same too over in the back here for Rapl on the back food there. But if he can figure that out, that there's villages back there, he can sneak around the side and cause a lot of problems here. But he does give away the fact that he's on on Eric's side of the base here, and he's going to have to retreat back. While we see walls coming up to just defend this one here for the Rapl, no problems where that's concerned.
Skipan tilbúin.
As TheRapl ski biting around, he's going to have to retreat back for the timing. Eric is in a completely fine position right now. A little bit behind on score just because the villager differential is quite large, but he's got such an advantage in being fair with the upgrades that the differential in resources honestly doesn't end up amounting to that much, so long as you can get to the heroic age. If you get to the heroic age and get those heroic upgrades in, then it sort of starts equalizing out in a bit. Right now, 5 villager, 6 villager differential will start creeping up to being very, very worth it here for TheRapl. It's not like Eric has had like idle time or lost any villagers just yet. So this is all just villagers coming out of the armory. As if we take a quick look at TheRapl's perspective, he's already got himself that... no, he doesn't. He's only got 4 armory upgrades, so he probably should only be in front by 4 villagers. Not sure where that's coming from. Anyways, Raiding Cavalry getting pulled back. We see a couple of Throw and Axemen coming into the mix here. Wouldn't mind seeing some Herdmen coming in here, especially with that Servants of Glory tech. We are going to start seeing Draugr and the Valgaldir coming through as well. I've been seeing these Draugr be very, very useful as TheRapl swinging around onto the side here. Got to be careful where you're going as the Raiding Cavalry for Eric are going to be here. The villagers all kind of getting pulled off of their resources very, very quickly. It looks like TheRapl doesn't even care. He's just trying to cause idle time, turning around, taking the fight underneath the town center for the time being. Population differential here, I can't tell you because you've got a 689 population or military population for TheRapl. But the villagers on this spot, they do get spotted here, and now Eric is nowhere to be seen. All the villagers are going to go down here, and then the TheRapl raiding cavalry can simply just retreat away. That is a huge raid here for TheRapl. And now TheRapl drops that forest fire in, and he's going to be able to get out with no problems. In fact, he turns around and takes the fight underneath the forest fire, getting some huge damage done. Now can retreat away as Eric is still sitting on the forest fire. He's still sitting on his... I don't think I've seen a forest fire do that much damage ever. Look at all the units. They're all basically dead. And TheRapl just gets out. I can't tell you what the population differential is now, but in terms of what's in this thing, we've got 18 raiding cavalry now versus, well, there's even more of it, 18 over here as well. So it's clearly in favor of TheRapl in a gigantic way right now. As a raiding cavalry for TheRapl, still looking for other things to come in. Any sneaky gold miners, anything coming in onto this side of the map. We see Boit coming through as well to boost those Valkyries. Lots of favor in the bank for both players to kind of start using as well. Already being used by Eric a little bit to get a couple more of those Revenant Draugr in. See if they're going to be enough as the Hersir for TheRapl just sitting in his base, going to be defending. Eric needs villager kills here. Absolutely. But TheRapl has played so defensively. He's even got farms down, just a handful to slow down the speed at which those goats get eaten. And now on the retreat path, a huge amount of damage coming down. And there's already injured raiding cavalry just absolutely melting here. And not only that, the armory upgrade's still favoring TheRapl at this stage in the game. You've got 9 damage to 9 damage. So equal on copper weapons, but 28% now coming through just now for Eric. So he's now got the double upgrades in, so it's finally equal. But Skadi going to be coming in. Honestly, at this stage here for TheRapl, he could very easily just go Bragi, walk into Eric's space, click flaming weapons, A move, and then close his eyes because he's that far in front. Nonetheless, he's also got himself that bronze armor queued in as well. And look at the Boit Valkyries here, the Shield Maiden Valkyries. I'm pretty sure this deck boosts healing rate as well, right? Yeah, 33% more healing rate, up from 7.5 HP. So they go up very, very quickly. Raiding cavalry on this side for TheRapl getting pulled away, but does get caught by Eric ever so slightly. The Draugr are in. They're so strong as well. There's 3 of them. You can sneak around and take them out really, really quickly with the Valkyrie. So it's important to have the Hersir in defense there as well. But they can do so much damage if they get the numbers out. Because while it might not seem like they do a lot with only 2.4 divine damage, 6 pierce damage, really that divine damage ends up hitting a huge amount of units. And if you've got 5, 6, 7 Draugr, they start absolutely brutalizing this army. Now, I think One thing here that I'm still waiting for top players to kind of start doing, it's really challenging, but it's super worth it, is to turn that special ability off. And if you don't want to actually manually queue it out, in the heat of the battle, when you see the value special ability in, then you turn it back on in that moment, and they're all going to go through just like that, hitting all of those raiding cavalry here as TheRapl now decides to engage. He's got the heavy raiders in, he's got the heroic age in, he's got the advantage in this fight. The Valkyrie come through to snipe down the Draugr on the back of the battle here. 2 Draugr going down. The Valkyrie's going to come in and try and snipe the other one as well, and you can just see how quickly they go down on that spot there. And in that moment, Eric taps out. TheRapl races to a 2-1 lead in this best of 5 series here. This was a dominating display of Norse war knowledge. Really, I don't know if this game came 100% down to this raid, but the fact of the matter is this forest fire did so much damage onto the raiders as well that there's not really any way for Eric to utilize those raiders and get a revenge raid in after all of that damage had been done. Losing 6-7 villages at that stage in the game is somewhat game ending in the Norse war, but you have to be thinking, okay, maybe I can get a raid elsewhere. But unfortunately for Eric, not able to make it happen. I see the idea with the Draugr. It's a very immobile army, but I think maybe the more I think maybe the more sensible approach, if this is going to be the army comp, because the Draugr are really slow, it makes a lot of sense to go into like Herdman, throwing Axeman Draugr, and that way the raiding cavalry, you're already going to be sitting in your base defending anyways. You're not going to be looking for raids. You can just sit in your base until you got that big, nice army, and with the Draugr defending anything that's coming in, and then you can push out. But alas, doesn't work for Eric in this one, and we'll move on to game number 3 very, very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, assorted members of the jury. Today we come to settle the case of the Hades TheRapl versus the Loki EricBR. It's been a really, really hard fought series thus far. First game went pretty heavily in the favor of Eric, but game 2 and 3 ended up going very heavily in favor of the TheRapl. Will these players be able to get to that point where we get ourselves an entertaining, long, sledged game? Or is it just outsmarting versus outsmarting in every single one? We'll see. We'll see how these players can actually figure this one out. The TheRapl here, I mean, he's been playing insanely well for so long. Playing as Hades is a really, really nice comfort pick for him, I have to assume. It's a great god. There's always comeback potential with this one. Super, super strong against nearly every single civ in the game. I would argue that probably every single civ in the game has not necessarily a bad time, not necessarily a good time against Hades, just a time against Hades. He's one of the more kind of straight down the middle, skill-based gods that goes really, really well. But he is up against a titan of a god in Loki, who is possibly his worst matchup if there is one. Arguably, maybe some of the Egyptians, like Ra, could be another challenge for him. But Loki is definitely one of the good ones, as well as on the map Marsh. Huge amount of hunt going to allow him to make a whole bunch of those Hersa, as we do see Armor of Achilles. That's going to be a nice one there as well to get picked up. We've got that Gambitine Odin's Wand. Another really, really nice relic there to cheapen up the Hall of Thanes. I think you can get that from the Temple Hall of Thanes, and also Eyes in the Forest, which is a great upgrade as well. Down on the bottom here, we've got this next one. Got that Dwarven Horseshoes. Another huge relic here for Norse, who's definitely going to be wanting to make raiding cavalry through this. As you see, the Skulls of the Serapes here. Arguably, I've heard that this relic is the best relic in the game. Dun 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 dun. An absolute insane relic. 6 monkeys, not 5 monkeys, 6 monkeys, and it's not because they're slow, because that's big. Well, it's and Economic Jargon City. It's not good because of stats. The stats on the monkeys are actually kind of average, to say the very least. What makes these things good is twofold. So the first one is kind of the more obvious one, right? You can spread them out onto the map and you get a huge amount of scouting. And they just sit like on enemy town centers, gold mines, and they're just going to sit there being scouts for you. But the big one is that you get yourself an early game raiding strike force that can just get a huge amount of value if your opponent isn't paying attention, because they can get in and surround a villager, and even though they have kind of low stats, they're going to be able to pick off that villager if their opponent isn't paying attention. So there's lots and lots of fun there for that one, and we already see the Ajax out for TheRapl. He's also hasn't gone for an early. Well, he's going for an early one, but he hasn't gone for a super early rush to Vaults of Erebus. And this is something I want to keep on harping on, because I think there's like a misconception about early game, about build orders and why certain build orders are good, why certain build orders are bad. And the misconception is that it's just better to have more resources earlier. And that's, of course, that on the surface level, that's kind of the right thing. But in reality, what you want is actually going to be, I want a certain thing earlier. In this situation, TheRapl said, I see relics, Marsh's great relic map, I'm going to grab my Ajax earlier and start getting those relics in. Another way to think about it would be, oh, I need a town center nice and quick against this Civ. So instead of going for Vaults of Erebus, I'm going to get the town center first, and then I'll get the Vaults of Erebus later. So you're going to have less resources, but you're going to be able to get the town center up a little bit safer, so you're not going to lose any villages. So there's lots of different ways to play it. Nonetheless, a sort of late advance time here from Eric. Let's see what he's got. No pickaxe for Eric. No pickaxe for Eric. I keep on seeing this, and I'm like, I'm still trying to work out what the advantage, because these are the pro players, they've done all of this thinking already. So when I say this, I'm just like, I haven't figured it out for myself yet. What's the advantage of no pickaxe in the Archaic Age versus maybe a pickaxe a little bit later? And at this point, I see Great Hall coming down, Longhouse coming down. That upgrade here, what does it cost at the moment? 150 wood? Can still afford that pickaxe. I just don't see it. So maybe there's something else going on behind all of this. Nonetheless, we see it. I don't know, you guys couldn't see it, but I gave a huge thumbs up. I gave a huge thumbs up. In this tournament, we're going to be doing professional style, so no Boit cam. But a thumbs up was given to this. Villager Center coming in for TheRapl in the main base. What makes this so good? Well, it's another defensive force in the main base for Hades. 2, your opponent doesn't know it's there until they know it's there, which means a lot longer to kind of figure this one out. In fact, there's been no scouting so far for Eric. And the next big point here is, if, for whatever reason, Eric doesn't see it, which he very well might not. If Eric doesn't see it, he might get tricked into thinking that a fast heroic is coming. But the raiding cavalry, they're pushing through, and it looks like the Rouge might be up. Up! The Rouge? The Rouge? What's the word? The Rouge? My English has just completely gone down there. Oh, now he knows. Okay. He sees it. It's spotted. These raiding cavalry got a lot of line of sight. Anyone, like, so there was just as a bit of a like, how do I say this? As a bit of an aside here, this upgrade is still insane. Eyes in the Forest. They got nerfed so that you couldn't use it with buildings anymore, but it is still insane. It's such a good relic. As the raiding cavalry are going to charge in, as soon as they get in, town center gets garrisoned into, walls coming up onto this side, a couple of monkeys are in to defend. Look at these bad boys. They do 5 damage, they got 40 HP, they move at 3.3 speed. Absolutely insane unit. Rouge. The Rouge is up. I think I said that. What did I say? Rouge. Rouge is the color or the makeup or whatever, right? Anyways, it is what it is. As we see a military coming up, and TheRapl at this point, he's got the armor, he's got the military cannon. This is such a TheRapl build. I love this so much. It's like The plan here is, what's the weakness of Loki? Well, the weakness is that he's kind of a one trick. He's an open book. Like, you know what he's going to do. He's going to make raiding cavalry. He's going to make Herser. So how do you beat that? Well, you make some prodromus, you make some hoplites, and you make some Hypaspis, right? Makes so much sense here. And Eric here, he knows, well, he should know what's coming for him. He sees the entirety of the base because of that upgrade Eyes on the Forest. And not only that, on this side, he's seeing the units coming out. If you want to get like max knowledge from this technology, you can kind of just start putting units all across the map on patrol, and you just see so much of the map. It's such a great way to play. As we see now, archery range coming down as well. So it could be ideas of getting some Toxotes out, or Peltast even. Like, they're heroic age units. So like, if you go Hoplite, Peltast, Hypaspis here, Peltast if there's any potential throw and axemen in the mix, then you pick off the throw and axemen really easily with the Peltast, and then the infantry units are just so strong. It's just so much food in the main base here for the RAPL as well. Is Eric still moving around? Now the big thing here is that Eric isn't as far behind in this situation as he would normally be if this wasn't a village center. So you've got to keep that in the back of your mind. Now, the other thing is this nice villager snipe there from Eric. The other thing is when you're going to the heroic age off a village center, this is a benefit to you, because this is like, if your opponent is 2 town centers and you are, this is where you're actually equal to them without even going on to the second town center. You get 75 seconds of being equal to your opponent here. As the army pops out over onto this side, see the wall's getting a little bit of a gate situation as the raiding cavalry have to retreat back. And in this position here, Eric says, all right, time to get a town center. And I don't think this is a terrible position to be in for Eric. I would have liked the town center to come down maybe like 7 minutes. Like as soon as he sees that village center, just go, all right, we're going to drop a town center now and then start building throw and axemen. But this isn't a terrible position to be in the slightest. As down onto the bottom side, just checking everything down here. We've got that spy getting dropped onto those hoplites here just to ensure he knows what's going on. The beauty of spy is you just have no idea where it gets cast, when it gets cast. So for those of you playing Loki, the budding Loki players at home, the best way to use spy is to not use it at the start. Because if you use it at the start, your opponent, they're gonna think that it's being used. So you can fake with the berserk running in early to drop a spy down, and you can book it back out, and you can throw it down onto the army, or you can throw it onto a villager later, or you can do whatever you want where that is concerned. But the town center is up now for Eric. He's got the armory. He's going up to the heroic age himself. RAPL for the time being. He's still getting hit with raids, but he's still completely fine in this position. He's going to be wanting to move out of his base very, very shortly here. I was about to say I wouldn't be surprised at a mythic age coming through, but he needs to drop a fortress. So I think if he wants to go for that, he's going to have to get a lot more resources. And as he does start to move forward into this granary, walls at the top, you're going to get broken down. The watchtowers are in. Could be worthwhile to get that crenellations tech in as we see a marker getting dropped to just path block away those units. There's raiding cavalry bringing themselves back up onto this position. The villagers, have they been spotted here? I think they may have been spotted moving forward, but Chiron, a tanky force there. Raiding cavalry going to take the wall out and then retreat back. As onto this side here, the hoplite's going to turn around. There's the curse getting dropped in. The hoplites will be able to take this fight nicely. Throw and axemen need to focus fire down. The monkey's coming in clutch here as the hoplite's going down. We see the flaming weapons coming in onto multiple locations for the time being. Villagers going to retreat back. Restoration comes in. Herser on this location gets taken out. RAPL's got to be careful with this fight. Population differential is very, very close here, but Nemean Lion Minotaur here for the RAPL is going to be absolutely huge when there's no Herser in. Not really too many myth unit spawns just yet, it seems. For Eric, the throw and axemen with flaming weapons are very, very strong here. And Eric now decides it's time to retreat back. And RAPL, he can keep jockeying around here for the time being. And he's going to be able to get himself that Nemean Lion special back up. There's an Ironry spawn. Obviously not the one that he really wanted. A Valkyrie spawn there would have been perfect, but you don't get to choose. And now Eric's going to have to retreat back. Flaming weapons is done. That's the big power spike there for Loki. Out of commission here. But villager differential is close. And the game gets to move along in a fairly decent way right now. With the villager differential being close and not really any advantage one way or the other in terms of god powers at this stage, it all kind of comes down to army movements, fundamentals, and just really, really solid RTS gameplay. More houses coming up onto this position here as the hoplites are going to slowly start to move forward. Hoplites can come over onto this. You've got to be careful with those villagers. One thing that I don't see enough of from Norse players is just getting walls set up, especially when you've got your opponent like stuck in their base. Just getting up a wall or something with one throw an axe or one berserk at some point over here would have been a really, really nice safety play for the mid game. Nonetheless, throw an axeman coming forward. It's really hard to play Norse, man. Norse is such a hard civilization to play. If you do play Norse at the highest of levels, man, Norse is good. It can be frustrating to play against a really good Norse player. Nonetheless, villagers starting to move across the map onto this mid gold mine. Still no fortress, it looks like, for either player, as the raiding cavalry will be able to get the slightest of raids in. The Nemean Lions get that roar off. It's so dangerous to run into a Greek Nemean Lion task force because you're going to lose so much HP. Eric kind of gets lucky with not losing a raiding cavalry there, but a fantastic raid coming in onto this position as TheRapl not paying attention. He also hasn't got himself that survival equipment, so a lot of villagers will be falling here as TheRapl pulls all the way back to this position, trying to get the units back over here, as we do see a bit of a raid now coming in onto Eric's main base here. The villagers retreating away. Villagers going to be pulling back here. We've got those Toxotes coming in to get a little bit of damage done. These villagers will just drop into that granary for the time being. Oh no, they don't. They tried to, but they repaired instead. I think that needs to be fixed. Poor TheRapl. He did everything. He did everything right. And he just gets trolled. He just gets trolled. As the Nemean Lion's going to be charging forward here. Raiding cavalry onto the back, but the Toxotes have that Nemean Lion to help out. The Minotaur on the front here going to be tanking up quite a bit. Can TheRapl hold on this position? A couple more hoplites going to be coming through to try and hold here. Population differential is still slightly in favor of TheRapl as those Tauren Axemen need to be taken out. Those hoplites, but they're just not doing it fast enough. The population is just too high here for TheRapl, and Eric will have to retreat back. But Eric now builds up a huge amount of favor. And he can now just transition villagers over to wood, build up a second temple, get himself to 5, 6, 7 trolls with hammer troll, and they will hit like a truck. If you're a Norse player and you say, I can't kill archerballs, well, I'll tell you what can. Trolls can. Trolls are the unit you're missing. These things are insane. Using that special ability onto an archer ball, you get 3 or 4 to throw the rock at the same time, and you're going to lose a lot of archers. We're going to kill a lot of archers. As the TheRapl army starting to charge forward here as well. Hoplite's going to clean up these units. We see a couple of Hades Shades coming in to defend on this position. Up onto the top side, got those villagers coming up here to get some more wood. I see in the chat someone was telling me that Eric's only putting gatherers onto gold. Seems like that's the case. It's actually not the worst of ideas. It's not the best of ideas either. Obviously, if you can get yourself the perfect macro between dwarves and gatherers on gold, it's better. But if you can't, then it makes it really, really easy to swap between gold and wood and gold and food if you've just got gatherers. Plus, you're not spending gold on those dwarves, so you have a little bit more gold in your bank to actually use on military units. While you have less gold total, you have a little bit more gold to use, funnily enough, for a little bit. But there are some benefits to this. I don't recommend it every single game. But if you got like a game where you're like, I'm going to get gold starved, just build gatherers, you know? The gold lasts longer. So there is a lot of benefit to it. But I think at this point, definitely dwarves should be coming out. But there's still some more food coming. I don't know. Nonetheless, more trolls here coming through for Eric, and he's starting to get into an army that is respectable, but he still needs to get that population through. He still needs to get those units in. Houses getting torn down, and soon, very soon here, it's going to be hoplites charging in to take out a town center, and Eric will have to fight here very, very shortly. I see army starting to charge forward. A couple of villagers getting taken down on both sides over here. But at this stage, it looks like the kind of forward movement here from Eric is kind of halted. And, you know, we say it quite a lot, but at the moment, it's not happening. But the hardest part about playing Norse is playing on the defense. You really don't want to be on the defense. Now he's got the troll army out here. This thing's going to hit like a truck, but TheRapl might be going Mythic Age. And when I say might, it's not might. He's going Mythic Age. And that means Perseus comes through. And Perseus is an insanely good counter to these trolls. Because he just picks one off instantly, right? But more importantly, if he can get on top, he basically like 2 hits, 3 hits the trolls. With all the help of the other heroes, it's probably going to be a fight that TheRapl can take. And the Earthquake can get dropped down somewhere. And that's going to be another problem. So right now, Eric needs to act. He needs to act fast. TheRapl can also be thinking about getting himself that 3rd town center behind all of this, considering he's at full population. He's also getting some more upgrades, getting that levy infantry, levy ranged soldiers. Absolutely love to see those techs coming in. Roughly when you're about 5 military buildings, give or take, it's good to get those upgrades in rather than drop another military building. We are seeing that's the case here. For TheRapl going to be doing it. That's kind of just where it mathematically turns into the advantage, roughly. But there are some benefits, obviously, to getting it a little bit faster out as well. But it just depends on where you are in the game, I guess. And TheRapl says, there's the game. And now we see the scary hell. Now, Nidhogg, just like the Son of Osiris is really good against Norse, the Nidhogg is technically really good against Greek. Because the Greek, they've only got 4 heroes, right? Depending on where they are. Maybe 2 heroes, even depending on where they are. So if you can get this Nidhogg in the right way, you can use that to also kill off the Archibald here, which TheRapl has constructed. But TheRapl is just so far in front here. Armory upgrade-wise, he's kind of equal, but he's about to get himself full champion. Lots and lots of units actually in the bank here for Eric. So Eric could be getting himself more armory upgrades here as well, as he does decide to grab that just now. How many military buildings does Eric have at the moment? He's got enough, I would say, but definitely more is more in this stage of the game. Every time I see someone play like Magic, you see how many military buildings he puts down as Norse, and it's like, it's so important. Because obviously, if you get the buildings getting knocked down all throughout the game, you still need more. So if you just have just enough, an Earthquake gets hit in, and now suddenly you're down 3 military buildings, a town center, a whole bunch of houses here. That's a brutal Earthquake. Are the military buildings going to stay? Yes, they are. Now, a quick way to defend against this as the population drops quite significantly is to just get those villages and just drop houses here. We see a couple of berserks getting converted, but definitely taking villages off somewhere and just dropping all those houses is exactly what he needs to do. He's getting some up with some military units up over here, but now this is allowing TheRapl the ability to move over. And not only that, the hell was cancelled here. That Earthquake was actually insane. And now we're also starting to see Beast Slayer coming in immediately for TheRapl, as these heroes are going to hit like a truck, as some siege weapons starting to come through as well to help out. The army going to charge forward to take out this town center over here, starting to set fire to all these buildings in the Norse village over here as well. And this fortified town center is going to be absolutely erased. As now the trolls starting to come forward, and Eric still trying to bide his time to get set up here. Champion Hoplites, Champion Toxotes, the Perseus coming through. Bronze armor, bronze weapons, and Aegir's shield. A little bit of a support against the troll as well to come through. This is like 15% extra pierce armor onto these ones. And not only that, buildings falling as well, as TheRapl, he's going to push forward and just grab this town center for himself. And we see so many units queued up for Eric, but he's just not able to get those out with the population that he's currently got. 210 of 200 here. Can he get some upgrades is the question. He's got to get himself that champion. He's got to bide his time for hell as he's waiting. He can try and use the troll special ability here to get some value, but it looks like not going to happen just yet. There's also Perseus out. So now this Nidhogg that's going to be coming through. We see Eric going a little bit soon, but the Nidhogg will be able to come in very, very quickly. Huge amount of damage coming in, taking out those Toxotes insanely quickly. TheRapl going to be throwing down a second restoration now as well. The Troll's starting to get taken out onto this position. He's got to pull those back. Perseus, look at that. Perseus absolutely erasing units here. We've got the Nidhogg coming in, going to dive through, get that special ability off, but kind of misses, but he does cancel that one. Now taking out the Toxotes on the back position as the Troll's still standing strong on the end there. But the Nidhogg, turns out I lied about the Nidhogg being insanely good against the Greeks. He gets absolutely erased there from that ball of archers. The Trolls not going to be enough there in the back, and TheRapl moves on with a very, very quick 3-1 victory. A little bit of a scare here for TheRapl in the early stages of this series, losing to the Kronos, but he gathered the inside of his being here and decided to send it fully at Eric. He threw a whole bunch of curveballs at Eric in this series, and they really paid dividends here, as Eric maybe not made the correct reads in some situations. But TheRapl, it's just showing why he is so good in these tournaments and why he's doing so well. Post-game wise here, you see this timeline of resources, and even with that village center being a little bit less effective here, TheRapl is still able to stay in front. Now, Eric does find the lead towards the end, but at that stage, he's already lost so many military units, and you're now fighting against that late game Hades, which, while arguably I think Norse can play it. If they get to the late game equally, I think that the Norse player can actually have a game there. But when you're behind, and that is the end of the game. Well played by TheRapl. Congratulations to him. He'll be moving on to the next round. Hope you guys are enjoying the tournament, and we'll see you guys in the next game.